Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Maximum Freedom with Mike. I am your host, the one, the only, Mike, I guess. Yeah. How is everybody doing? Guess what day it is? Hump Day! Yeah, I know everybody hates that, camel, but I happen to love that commercial. I think it's hilarious. As you know, I am coming to you from the dungeon, aka my basement studio in good old Ohio. Yes, sir. It's a very wintry morning today. Very cold, but not as cold as it has been. I am thankful for this. Alright guys, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're listening. I hope that this will be something that's educational and entertaining for you. Before we jump into a lot of the stuff that I want to talk about here, I want to recommend a few resources for you guys. As you know, one of the main reasons why I decided to start this podcast was because I had recently, within the last few months, been what I call converted to libertarianism. And I wanted to share my journey with you guys from going from what I would label conservatism to what I consider libertarianism. Well, I'm hoping that this will connect with other people who are experiencing this type of a conversion. So I want to help those people who are starting to learn maybe a few things here and there about what libertarians believe and what they think politically and whatnot. I want to help those people find resources that will encourage them to self-educate, learn, and figure out where they really stand on these issues. So I got a few resources I'd like to recommend. Of course, most of these resources that I'm talking about here are written by Ron Paul, because he is like the leading voice of libertarianism. And I just think he has the best resources out there. They're easy to follow, easy to read. He takes these complicated kind of political issues and just breaks them down in bite-sized pieces that just, you just flow through the books. The books are short too. I mean, they're not like really big, long tomes of information to, plow through. So that is always helpful as well. One of the books I'd like to recommend is The Revolution by Ron Paul. I'm currently reading this one, and it is fantastic. I would not have considered myself a non-interventionist as far as my stance on foreign policy until I started reading this book, and he broke it down so I understand what exactly being a non-interventionist means, and that it's not the same thing as being a pacifist or anything like that. So it's just really helpful to go through these issues and see where exactly Ron Paul stands, because that's where the majority of libertarians stand as well. So it's really helping to clarify some positions, and the book's short, it's like 175 pages. It's a great book. Also by Ron Paul, two other books. School Revolution, which is the book that actually kind of led to my conversion into libertarianism. It chronicles Ron Paul's solution to our current broken education system, which that's something that we're going to talk a little bit about today. Also In the Fed by Ron Paul. I haven't read that one yet, but I've heard it highly recommended by Julie Borowski. That's Token Libertarian Girl on YouTube, and just tons of other libertarians saying it's one of the top essential reads. So make sure you guys check those out. Also, Theodore and Woodrow, I think is the title of the book, by Andrew Napolitano. I'm listening to that on audiobook every day during my workouts. Man, the way that the public education system has done what I like to call revisionist history is just amazing. We tend to look at Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson as heroes. That's what we're taught in our history books in school. But this book really goes a long way in undoing all of that revisionist history and damage, and showing you what kind of legacy these two men really left for us in America. It's a very good book. The Freedom Answer book by Napolitano also is another one I would highly recommend. Those are just a couple that I've been going through right now. Economics in One Lesson by Hazlitt, I believe. I cannot remember if that's the right name or not. Anyway, those are a few resources you guys need to check out. And also, if you're interested in checking out these books, you can purchase them at my website on maxfreewithmike.com. That's Max, M-A-X, free, F-R-E-E, with, W-I-T-H, Mike.com. I have a link to Amazon on the right side of the page that has all those books. You can get those books at great affordable prices through Amazon. Yes, this is sort of a sponsorship ad right here. I've got a few sponsors that I'm going to be talking about and some advertisements to go in the show. So get used to it. I'm a capitalist. Free market. I want to make some money. So go buy these books already, would you? Make me some money. Anyway, those are great resources, great prices. Get them through Amazon. Go to my website, maxfreewithmike.com. Click on the store link, and it'll take you right to whichever book it is you want to purchase. So it's quick, easy, convenient. Can't beat that. All right, the main topic of segment 1 here of the podcast is self-education. I am a very strong proponent. Proponent? Yeah. I am a very strong proponent of adult self-education. The public education that I received and that you received as a child was very inadequate. We were cheated out of a lot of things that we needed to know, and that's not just, basic book knowledge, but skills that we needed to know. Just look at the literacy rates out right now, and that tells you a lot. Not only were we cheated out of a great education, I mean, the whole purpose behind our public school days was to serve as indoctrination. I mean, that was exactly why Teddy Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson supported public education so strongly. They believed that the state was better prepared and equipped to raise children than the parents were. Okay? Woodrow Wilson actually said that the state needed to make kids as less like their fathers as possible. Now, I don't know the exact quote, but that's pretty darn close to it. So the whole point of public school education was to take kids and saturate them with progressive ideals so that, when they became adults, they would just blindly support the state without question. Okay? Now, from what I've been learning about these two dudes, Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, is that they both were very racist people, but not just against, African Americans, all right, black people. They were also freaking racist against anybody from any nationality. They were very anti-immigrant. They didn't like Italian Americans. They didn't like Irish Americans. And most of these immigrants were Catholic in nature, and this was a problem to them. They wanted them to be Protestant. So they tried to pull them away from their parents and what their parents believed through indoctrinating them in the public school system. I mean, it's just they wanted to create like wards of the state. They wanted these kids to be adults who one day believed that all the answers to the world's problems, our country's problems, lied in the government and more government intervention. I mean, that's still the case in public schools today. I mean, that's the kind of legacy that was left by Roosevelt and Wilson. Like I said earlier, public schools and the textbooks we read for history lead us to believe that guys like Theodore Roosevelt and Wilson were heroes. Okay, like when you think of Theodore Roosevelt, you typically think of speak softly and carry a big stick. You think of the Rough Riders and him, the bull moose going out hunting all the time, and he's a real man's man. But this dude had absolutely no regard for the U.S. Constitution. I mean, he didn't think he should be bound by it. He didn't think that the government should be bound by it. His answer to everything was found in government intervention into the public lives of people and into countries around the world. Okay, that was what he believed in. And it's amazing the platform that he got. He was so charismatic and so likable that's what won him, the presidency. He was a lot like Barack Obama. Barack Obama is very, very charismatic. He's a very good speaker. He's very good at relating to people and empathizing with people. And you know what? That causes people to not look at what's important, like what does Barack Obama or a guy like Theodore Roosevelt actually believe and stand for. Instead, they look at, oh, look at how charismatic this guy is. This guy really gets things. You know what? I trust this guy. Yeah, look, first off, if anyone is in government, you should automatically not trust that person. Okay? That's just the way it is. You should be very skeptical, no matter who it is. Whether it's Ron Paul, whether it's Barack Obama, we need to be skeptical and we need to dig to see what these people actually believe. And if they're in Congress, what are their voting records like? Do the voting records match with the principles they claim to hold? If not, we need to know why they're not voting according to the principles that they claim to hold to. All right? That's the reason why people keep getting disappointed by the Republican candidates that they elect to the Senate and Congress and everything else, is because most of the guys they elect aren't really Republicans or conservatives. They're really just progressives. And, you know, they say a lot of good things while they're running, just like any politician who wants to win. And then when they get in office, they start, you know, backpedaling and doing things differently. Yeah, we didn't really dig to the principles. We just took these people on their word. You know, we didn't look into their lives. What are they like, really? You know, and so that's how the people like this get elected. It's how Teddy Roosevelt got elected. You know, I keep wanting to say Franklin Roosevelt. That's why I keep stuttering every time I say Theodore. You know, if you need an example of how public schools are being used as tools of indoctrination, I mean, it's all over the news today. If you just look hard enough, you'll find it everywhere. Let's take, for example, yesterday a news story came out about a college textbook in, I think it was the University of South Carolina, that made Ronald Reagan out to be a sexist and made conservatives sound as if they hated everyone and thought everyone was lazy and not worth. How was it worded? Not worth anything, or they didn't have any value or something like that. I mean, this textbook was obviously written from a leftist, from a liberal perspective and slant, with no apologies made. Now, I know that's at the college level, but that kind of thinking starts getting indoctrinated into you the moment you step foot in kindergarten into a public school. Let's take sex ed, for example. Look how schools are starting to teach sex ed to, you know, kindergartners and to, kids who are way too young to be learning about these things. And these kind of things are supposed to be being taught by parents, not by the school system. You know, that's a problem. And a lot of the sex ed that's being taught is making it sound like it's okay to be promiscuous or it's okay to engage in homosexual activity. Now, you know, if the parents are okay with that, that's fine. That's one thing, but it's their job to teach that to the child, not the school. And if you hold a differing view than that which is being taught in the school on homosexuality or promiscuity or anything like that, you automatically get made fun of, called out, and told you're wrong and that your parents' worldview is wrong. And, you know, they don't know any better. You need to listen to us. We're the professionals. And the indoctrination begins. They try to unravel what, you know, value system the parents place into the So, sorry about that, guys. I thought I was having some technical difficulties there. So, you know, they're trying to tell these parents that their worldview is wrong, and so they're trying to get the kids to come away from that worldview. I think that is just ludicrous, and that goes against libertarian principles of living in a free society, a society that is ruled by liberty, not by government, is that each person has to take personal responsibility for themselves and for their family, and that includes not just paying the bills, but also taking charge of the education that your children receive. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do homeschooling, even though I am a strong proponent of homeschooling. What that means is that parents should have the final say in what is taught in schools. The local communities, churches, parents, those people need to have the say in what kind of curriculums are taught in schools, so that the public schools will then reflect the values of the parents in the community rather than being dictated by the federal government. Anyway, that's one of the ways that they're doing it, like the whole deal with sex ed, giving away condoms. That's one of the ways they promote promiscuity. And, to a student who has a family who's, religious or just has a strong sense of morality that thinks those things are wrong, that child is being told that their sense of morality is wrong and that, it's offensive to hold a view different from what the government holds, which is a violation of First Amendment rights. But, when has the government ever cared about that? Other example, this kind of goes along with sex ed. Sex ed's a real big problem. Schools helping children get abortions without telling their parents. Completely taking the care and control of the child, the responsibility of the care of the child from the parent and placing it in the hands of the state by not even informing parents when their child has had an abortion. I'm a pro-life person. I believe that abortion is wrong. I believe it's murder. And I believe that the Constitution already protects babies and gives them the right to life. I don't believe we need an additional amendment to that. I believe that this should already be a fact. And that the government, by sanctioning abortion and saying that it's okay and whatnot, is going against the Constitution. Now, that's what I believe. And I believe if we're going to seek to really get rid of abortion, we may have to consider dropping the deal with the federal ban and just try to push the government out of abortion altogether and then state by state ban it. Work a movement to ban it that way. Either way, I'm pro-life, okay? So this appalls me as a pro-life person, but also just the fact that they would take the responsibility of the care for the child out of the hands of the parents with no say whatsoever. I mean, that's frightening. Those are just some of the ways that kids are being indoctrinated. They're told it's okay to make these mistakes, yada, yada, yada. Then you look at revisionist history, how they've made the founders of this country look like awful people, how they've told everyone that they're deists and all this other stuff. Now, look, the founders were not perfect people. They were people who had character flaws. They made mistakes. They were not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they were not nearly as evil as what these revisionist history books make them out to be. For the most part, they were very good men, especially George Washington. And I think it's ridiculous how public schools paint them to look like bad men. And the reason why they do that is because if they make these founders look bad, then that helps you discount their principles that they stood for. It makes it easier to discount the Constitution and maximum liberty and personal responsibility instead of, a nanny state. But we have a ton of that going on in history books. And a lot of the stuff that they tell you is not true. I don't believe for a minute the Founding Fathers were deists. I believe they were all Christians, but I believe there were some who were Orthodox Christians. I believe there were some who were not Orthodox Christians. Regardless, they were Christians. Now, I don't think that necessarily makes us a Christian nation or anything like that. I just think that, if you're going to tell facts about people's lives, they should be facts. It should be true. It shouldn't just be whatever mamby-pamby crap you make up. So this stuff, it all ties together to try to pull children away from any type of value system that their parents may try to instill in them so that the government can instill their own, which is that the government will take care of you. The government is the solution to all problems. And we know that is not true. And we're told these lies 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day for, 200 some days a year, something like that. For 12 years. I mean, wow, man, that's a lot of indoctrination. That's a long time to hear that. You hear that stuff that many hours a day, that many days a year, you're going to start believing it, whether it's true or not. It gets ingrained in your being. It becomes a part of who you are. I mean, not only do we as adults, need to make up for a lack of quality education. Not only were we cheated out of, being able to learn how to read at an appropriate level, and all these other things that come with a quality education, but we have to unlearn thousands of hours of lies that we've built our lives on. Got tongue-tied there. The foundation of our lives, most of us who have been through public school, that education that formed our basic worldview, it was all a bunch of bullcrap. 99% of it wasn't true. It was revisionist history. It was created to make us blindly trust the state. And now we have to, as adults, unlearn all that and learn to educate ourselves. It's up to us to fix the mess in our heads, yo. I mean, we live in an absolutely fantastic age for self-education. Okay, so even though this process of unlearning all of this bull junk is tough, we live in an era that is absolutely freaking amazing, that we have so much information available to us. We got public libraries chock to the brim. Chock to the brim? I don't even know if you can really say that. ADD moment. Anyway, chock full of books that can educate us and help us learn the truth. Okay? Then you got the greatest resource ever, which is the internet. You can get a top quality education from the internet. It's crazy. There's colleges giving away entire courses for free. Now, you may not get a degree from it, but you can educate yourself so that at least you have some knowledge. Now, I'd be careful which colleges you go to and which professors and all that. You got to do your due diligence and research. But the point is, we have these great free resources right here. It's amazing. Totally amazing. While we're on that subject, if anyone out there is new to libertarianism, or you're just maybe living under a rock and you haven't done a whole lot of libertarian research on the internet, if you go to the Ludwig von Mises Institute.org, just do a Google search for it, because I'm not sure if that's the exact address or not. They have tons of resources. They have a whole section full of free books, whole books on economics, on non-interventionist policy, foreign policies. Just anything you could think of from a libertarian perspective, you can learn it here. And Ron Paul, if you do a Google search for Ron Paul, you'll find his homeschool curriculum, which can be used for adults too, the high school curriculum. There's a lot of stuff that's deep in there that we never learned in school. So, I mean, like how to run a home business, how to create a YouTube channel and actually use it effectively, and how to edit your videos. I mean, all this stuff is part of his high school curriculum for homeschoolers. It's amazing. It's awesome stuff. We can learn value from that as well. The state tries to take away our rights as parents to pass on our values and have a say in the curriculum that our kids are taught, but the internet puts the power back in our hands. You get what I'm saying? And this is why we homeschool. My wife and I homeschool our kids. My daughter's like brilliant, man. She's freaking genius. She's 5 years old and she reads entire chapter books. I'm talking books meant for like 5th and 6th graders. She's read Little Women. She's wrote a journal about it. And I mean, it's just crazy. She's way smarter than me. And it's not because, we're amazing parents and teachers. It's because we've equipped her with a basic understanding of how to read, and we've made her practice and practice and practice. And now that she knows how to read, she takes on a lot of educational responsibilities herself already at 5. We still structure everything for her, but she's getting to a point where one day she'll be able to take over responsibility for her own education. And this is what the goal should be for anyone who's doing homeschooling, is that by the time the kid hits 4th or 5th grade, they should be in charge of their own education. You should be the one, saying, hey, this is what we're going to study, this is what we're going to do, but that kid should be responsible enough to go through the motions without having you stand over their shoulder. Ron Paul talks a lot about that in his book, School Revolution. Stop by maxfreewithmike.com, pick up a copy. All of this self-education helps you to learn to think for yourself, to think critically. And that makes you dangerous. That's how we rein in the government. We rein in the government by thinking for ourselves and analyzing the junk that they tell us and sifting through it and finding what's true and what's not. And we can hold people accountable for what they say and for what they do that way. Self-education makes you dangerous, son. So get out there and do it. Don't let the man run your life. The key to getting ahead in life is education. That doesn't mean you have to have a college education. If you want to be a business owner, go get an apprenticeship with a local business owner. Say, hey, man, can I just sit with you on a daily basis, just see what you do every day, and maybe volunteer a couple hours here and there to take on some of the things you're responsible for? That's especially great for teenagers. You know, that kind of thing makes us dangerous to them. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys, that is it for segment number 1. But before we head out and I take a quick break, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about one of the sponsors that I have for the show called, are you ready? You guys will never probably guess this. Never in a million years. Paleo Plan. All right. Yes, paleoplan.com. Paleo Plan provides meal plans, shopping lists, and recipes as a membership service to help facilitate people following the paleo diet. We also offer ebooks containing similar content and a fitness product for those who'd like to exercise at home. You know, that's just some of the stuff that they offer. The paleo diet is basically like a more or less a no-carb kind of diet. It's super healthy. For someone like me who has diabetes, it's a very, very good diet plan to follow. If you're struggling with your diet plan or you want to learn more, Paleo Plan is great for that. Just go to my website at maxfreewithmike.com. I got a big old ad on the right side there. You click on that link, it'll take you to the website, and you can get more information. You can sign up for a free trial. You can do all kinds of stuff, and you can get your a plan for your meal for every day of the week, some great recipes, a complete weekly shopping list so you know what kind of food you need to buy at the grocery store to follow your diet, and it's covered by a money-back guarantee, and you can cancel anytime. So I mean, it's great for those who are looking to get healthy and fit and active. All right, guys, that's about it for segment number 1. I will be back in about 5 minutes, and we're going to talk about the news, because there is all kinds of weird crap going on in the news today that, if you're a libertarian like me, makes your blood boil. So, all right, guys, I will catch you all in just a few minutes. Peace.